welcome to another episode of Meet the Neighborhood. Today I have with me Andrea Thompson, the founder of Modern Sense. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today.
Now, at Modern Sense, you provide financial advice, but you are different from the traditional definition of a financial advisor. I'm really interested in that. Can you please explain how you operate?
Sure. I think the best way to think about me is I'm a financial planning professional, so I'm a certified financial planner, but I'm one that doesn't sell any products. So unlike traditional financial advisors or maybe other financial planners that someone would have worked with before, where either you're being sold investment advice or insurance products or mortgage products, I don't sell any products. So the product is actually just advice coming from myself. So clients that work with me really like to know that they're getting unbiased advice, or they're not being sold something, and that they can ensure that it's coming from a trusted source.
Oh, that's really cool. So no tide selling, no incentives for pushing
Nope.
certain products. That's really novel, actually.
Yeah, it's a small community in Canada. So there are some other people who do this across the nation, but it's very, very small compared to the typical financial advisory profession. So I would say we're a growing segmentation, and I think one that's very, very needed and also very demanded right now.
Right. And what made you go in this direction?
I've actually wanted to do this for about 10 years. So I would say 10 years ago, I was considering moving out of a corporate financial planning role, and I really wanted to go on and give advice only. But the industry wasn't really there yet. So I hummed and hawed, and instead of doing it at that point, I decided to join a wealth management team, which I was the senior financial planner on for 8 years. And I'm really glad that I did that, because I gained a world of wealth of knowledge beyond what I had at that point. And it really allowed the profession of advice-only planning to grow and to really develop over that time frame. So about a year and a half ago, I started thinking about doing it again, because a lot of the clients that were coming to the wealth management business I was part of were really just looking for advice. They weren't looking for an advisor. So it kind of got my wheels spinning a bit, thinking, is this the time? Is this really the time that I should consider doing this? So it did take me the better part of a year to do my research, to flesh out the idea, to develop the business plan, and I launched January 1st of this year.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So it's fairly new, but sounds like, as you said, it's a growing industry. And when would be the best time for someone to seek financial planning advice like this?
I mean, there's really no bad time, I would say, because financial planning is an evolving thing. It's not something you do one time in your life and then that's it, you've done a plan. I don't actually do a financial plan, quote unquote, which I think a lot of people are sold as part of a package, let's say, when they go to a wealth management professional. Planning is an ongoing thing because life changes and moves around all the time. So there's never a bad time to do planning. Doing a plan is sort of when you put a flag in the sand, so to speak. Here's my plan. But I like to work with clients who have evolving planning needs over time, and we develop a working relationship together. And I kind of, I'm there with them through the journey to kind of go with them along the way to help them through the different stages of life. And people at different stages have different needs. So, I have my youngest clients are in their 20s and my oldest clients are in their 70s. So planning is for all people of all ages, and it just depends on what your needs are at your particular age and stage.
That's so neat, actually, that you would be able to help people out sort of in a long-term way, but also in a piecemeal way.
Yeah.
So for example, if someone had a specific opportunity or a specific question that suited them at that point in time, they could come to you just for consulting on that opportunity.
Exactly.
Well, that's very cool.
Yeah, I'll give you an example that might be relevant. A lot of people go to sell their homes and are sitting on a really large nest egg that they really don't know what to do with. And taking that nest egg to a bank or to an advisor, those people just want to make money off of that money, right? They just want to invest that money and get paid on it. So I think a lot of times people aren't really sure if what they're getting from advice from those professionals is really truly in their best interest, because they know that they're getting paid on that money.
Yes.
Coming to me as a differential in that situation, I'm not managing any money. So what I'm really trying to do is determine what are you seeking to do with your life going forward, and how does this money fit into that picture? And then what are some opportunities or options to consider with respect to how you ought to think about that money, and not necessarily rush into doing something with it because it's sitting there in the bank account. So it's a bit of a different approach, I would say, than if you were to bring it to a money manager.
Yeah, that is a very different approach. I like that. I like the independence of that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in many different demographics now have more control over what they're doing with their money. So this sounds like it's suitable for a lot of different people. I'm curious. We're hopefully coming out of the other side of this pandemic. Have you seen any changes in the advice that people are seeking because of the pandemic?
Not necessarily, to be honest with you. I think people are actually putting more emphasis on their personal finances because they've been cooped up in their homes for 2 years. I know that a lot of clients have come to me because they've been dusting off their wills, or they've been dusting off their old documentation and realizing that they should probably get up to date with things. And that's a completely new phenomenon from the pandemic for sure. But I think, to be honest with you, because planning is always ongoing, regardless if there's a pandemic or not, it hasn't really changed the attitudes of individuals. What I will say, though, is it has driven more individuals online that have been in person before. And my business is completely virtual, and a lot of advisory businesses are turning virtual. So I think that the type of advice that I give lends itself better to a post-pandemic type of lifestyle, where people are comfortable seeking advice online. They're now comfortable with Zoom as a medium of communication. And people of all different ages and stages are more able to access this type of communication tool, rather than before, when it was a much more, let's try to find a time in person to meet. Where are we going to meet? Oh, it might not be for a month. And it was a lot more difficult, I would say, in those times than it is now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a really good insight. And now, where can people find you? You sort of touched on that. Now you're totally remote. You use
Mhm.
Zoom, obviously, but how do people get in touch with you initially to get some help with their finances?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best place to go is my website to start. So it's www.modernsense.ca. And from there, you can read all about the business and what I do. I put my fees directly on my website, so it's completely transparent. And you can actually sign up for a complimentary consultation directly on the website. So it's a half an hour phone call with me, just to talk about what your needs are and to see if there's a fit for us to work together, and no commitment whatsoever. There's also a form you can fill out on there if you just want to send me a note to see about setting up a time to meet. So it's up to you. I'm also on social media. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And you can follow me there if you want to see some of the ongoing financial literacy advice that I also provide.
Thank you so much, Andrea. This is
Thank you.
really informative and really novel, actually. I hadn't really heard about this type of model before meeting you. So thanks so much for coming on and explaining it all to us.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I really do. Thank you for the opportunity. And, my goal with all of this is just to reach a broader number of people who maybe can't afford a traditional advisory services, or aren't getting the best advice from the people that they're currently working with. So hopefully this message can reach more people.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thanks so much. I hope you have a
Thank
really
you.
good day.
You too.